All right. Okay. Very good. So a quick recap. What did we learn in our last session? We go through master detail relationships. We also go through lookup relationships. One second. Okay. We go through lookup relationships. Conversion from lookup to master. That was just a small item there. Many to many, we understood. We haven't go through the example, so we can check if anybody has actually done that. Then we also go through formula. So if you have create a formula field, so you have different fields where you're taking the input. Now you need to create some output like discounts or something else or submission or anything of that sort. Need to perform some formula functionality. You can create a formula field. Those formula field, if you have a relationship, you can also do across the object. So it's the same thing as just kind of understanding that you can do from other objects if they are related. If they're not related, then you cannot get the value from other fields. Validation rules. If you need to validate your data, what it means is you need to have 5 digits in your zip code or your 16 digits in your phone number, 16 digits in your credit card number, 4 digits in your expiration or whatever type of different rules you want. And this actually used a lot. Why? Because when you are taking inputs, especially let's say you have created a business process or system for a bank, or if you created a business for e-commerce platform, and they may have fields where you need a very explicit information in a particular format. For example, like credit card information or phone numbers or email, and then you have like millions and millions of records you need to run through another third system where you're charging the money. And so you don't want to run a wrong information or just a syntax information. So for example, instead of 16 digits of credit card, if you run more or less, that might just waste some processes and delay your processes. So you make sure your validation rules can take care of it. Lookup filters is something simple. So when you actually have a relationship and you bring some information up for selection, if you want to provide easier filtration, so they can just uh, get the information that they're looking for. For example, let's say if you are kind of selecting the properties for something, and your company doesn't work anything which is less than 100,000, then you can put a filter so that any properties, although they're in the system, but when you're connecting them with the clients, they will not show up. So that's why you need a filter, just to make it easy. Again, it's all depend upon the business case, what they have. In some cases, they have a lot of information coming up in the lookup box, so you want to make it easy for your users. Roll up summary, we also actually go through that in our last session, which is if you have a master detail, on the master side, you can have a kind of a summary of the items that you want. And I think somebody asked me that, if I want more than one, maybe I think I go back to my recording and I'll listen. Maybe I might not have understood the question correctly, but if you need more than one, you can create multiple roll-up summaries as well. So for example, if you need for the same item maximum value and minimum value, so you can actually create one user summary saying max value, and then you can select same process, just select the max and then show it up, and then select create another field called minimum value, and then you can just select the minimum. You can even have average or whatever, four different options are there. So you can have more than one summary field. And if you want to show both minimum, maximum, average, or all four, you can do that. So so yes, you can create multiple of them. It's just you have four limitations, four options that you may have. All right, so let's move on. So that was the detail I shared. Going forward, I will also share this cheat sheet that I have along with the presentation. So a few items that I kind of don't want to put in there because of the format that they have is like PPT. I just keep that in like plain and simple, just for walking through the different topics. So I can also share this one in case if you're following up and need some information there. All right, so today's topic, let's walk through the topic first, give you a high level of understanding what we are going to be learning today so you are prepared, give you an overall idea, and then we can jump in and actually start more technical setup of all these things. So our today's session, so this one I already completed, that we just need to, we have more than one roll up summaries there. So this one is done. So here is something called field dependencies. Field dependencies, something like if you're doing purchasing, you have seen this option in many e-commerce websites that, for example, if you're purchasing a phone, so first you have to select the kind of a brand. So let's say you are looking for, Samsung phone. So first they give you, okay, select the company. So you select Samsung. Then you have another drop down window where you said, okay, select the type of phone. So they can say phone, they can say a laptop, they can say printers, XYZ. And then you can select phone, and then it will only give you the list of phones. Because if you combine all of them, they can have, many X number of different items. For example, they can have, 50 different types of phones, 20 different type of laptops, 30 different types of this, 30, 40 different type of that. So how do you show them what they're looking for? So you provide some options first. So, okay, what company, what item, and then you can show the product, and then you can move forward, and then you can have further details. But usually it's called field dependencies, that you can have first field selected, and based on that, the second field will be selected. So we'll go through that, how to create it, and give you some examples to walk you through. The next complete topic that we have today is called, we will be working in a security model. So Salesforce security model, and we'll talk about in a lot of detail that what is setup roles, like how do you set up these different roles, what is group queues. We'll go into profiles, create some, there is some extension to profiles called permission sets, what they are. Then you have something called field level security, then you have page layout, then you have organization wide defaults. Then you have something called role hierarchy, which is same as you have different roles, and then sharing rules. So I have a lot of stuff today, and my aim is to finish it off today, hopefully, but making sure that you also get a good idea. All right. Any questions before we start our session today? I'll move to the next topic. Okay, so let's move to the first topic, field dependencies. Before that, just give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back, okay? All right, I'm back. Um, let me make sure it's still recording. Yep. All right, perfect. All right. So the first topic that we will go through today is called field dependencies. As I said, we can go through some examples. So what does field dependency mean? Is, for example, if you have, let me open up an Excel sheet. Okay, so for example, if you have like types, okay, and then you have something called subtypes. Okay, so what is type meaning? Like in this, just for understanding the, as an example, a type could be, you know, Apple, and subtype could be iPhone 10, iPhone 11, 12, right? And then you have Samsung, and then you have, what is the best Samsung phone called? Galaxy?
S9, S10.
Yeah, S9, or I think Galaxy is also one of the good one, right? Galaxy 10, 11, 12, something like that, right? So let's say this is your test case that you need to create two fields, types and subtypes, and these are your specifications. So whenever a customer choose Apple, in the next drop down, they can only able to select one of these three choices. And if they choose Samsung, then they can have these three choices. So this is a simple thing that we want to do today. So how to actually do that? All right, so basically what you need to do, first step is you need to create two fields. Whatever fields that you want, you can create two fields. One is called controlling and one is called dependent. And like right now we just say we will call the first one as, for example, property type, and then property subtype. So I mean, again, this is just an example. You can have anything, but these are the name of the two fields that you're looking for. And then you can basically, so let's do the first step first. Let's see if I have already made. If not, then we will create a new ones. So let's go back to our sample. Okay, so let's go to properties. So where do I go? Can anybody guide me? So what we need to do next step is, let's have somebody guide me. What should I do? We need to create two fields. What is the easiest way to do that? Anybody? Anybody what wants to help me? Walk me through where should
You
I?
you have a table existing, or you want to create a
Yeah,
new?
yeah. So table is there. We just need to add some new fields.
I think go to setup, I guess,
Go to setup. Okay. And then
and yeah, object manager. Find that table
find the object or table.
object, right?
So
Yeah.
here is called Ali something. So we look for Ali property. Info is the table. The real name is object. So we go to the object called Ali property info. We go to the fields, and then we don't have the fields for
New.
type and subtype, so we can create a new one. Go hit new. The first one we can call, so what we need is like some drop downs. So we need like a pick list. We can go next. Here we can say property type, and we select, we need our own values. So here we can say that this is residential and commercial, right? These two options, and rest of them is just, we can select the, for now, as I said, we can just go ahead and select the defaults. Need to create another field, same process, pick list, property, subtype, and we can have three of each option. So for example, for residential, we can have house, we can have condo, and we can have apartment. And for commercial, we can have office, we can have shop, and we can have warehouse. Okay. Any questions so far? Basically, we just shovel everything together. In one field, we have all the options for both of the subtypes. We just put it together. The next one is all the standard option, and we save it. Okay. Now, once you created the two fields, as I said, first step first, create the fields, give all the options. So the fields are property type and property subtype, pick list, pick list. What is the next step? Now we need to create something called field dependency. So if you see right here, right next to new, there's something, there's a tab called field dependencies. We'll just go in there straight, and we need a new one. So we create a new, and then here it will give you option for which one is your controlling field and which one is your dependent field. So property type is my controlling, subtype is my dependent, and I'll continue with that. As soon as you go here, it will give you here the option of selecting what you want. So for example, in residential, I can select house, and then what you need to do is click shift and then arrow key, and then you can select, like click shift, and you can use your cursor to select the options that you want and leave it. So these options will be selected. I can say include the values. Okay. So you will see they will highlighted in yellow, come straight. So they are selected for residential. For commercial, same thing. I use my shift and select the, oh sorry, and then select the option for um, commercial, office, shop, warehouse, include value. So they become bold, straight, and highlighted yellow. So these three options I selected here, these three options I selected here, and I'll say, okay, go ahead and save it. Okay, so they are saved. Now let's get back to our fields, make sure we can refresh, and let's start create a new item. So property name, address, price, and then property type. This is what our new fields are. Let's say residential, and then here it will give you whatever you want. So let's say you select house, and you can go ahead and save the house. Any questions so far?
Property type is a control field, right?
Type is a
Property
controlled field, yeah. Like
okay.
the one is controlling and one is dependent. So,
Dependent. Okay.
and I can show you again. I think it's actually says over here itself. So if you click new, it says controlling field and dependent field. So one field is one which you select first, and then the second dependent field is the option. So if you, and you can have, you know that you can have more options, right? Two, I just choose, just for example, but let's say you have 10 different controlling field and 50 different options, and each of them has 5 options or whatever. So you can have all of those different options.
Right. So in your dependent field, you add. I mean, you have all the
The
commercial and
options, correct.
residential in one
In one
pick list.
field, exactly, in one
Okay.
field. Yeah. So let's say if you have 3 different options in controlling, and then obviously the subtypes of all 3 options, then all 3 options subtypes will be added into the second field, like a controlling, like the dependent field, and then you can just pick up the field that you are looking for.
Manually.
Yeah, manually. You can select them, and they will just show up as a drop down for you. Easy, right?
Just question: how do you know that which one is gonna be the controlling?
So when you say which one is gonna controlling, you should know that, right? So for example, if you are saying that I need, take another example. Let's say I'm working for a bank, um, and I have account types, okay, and then I have another thing is this.
It's basically based on the requirement. You have to find
Yeah, based
the
on the requirements. So here you can have something like car manufacturer, and then here is the models, right? So the controlling field become,
car manufacturer.
yeah,
Okay,
Toyota, and then the model become Corolla, and then
Camry,
Camry and all that good stuff. And then you have another vendor called Honda, and
Honda.
types called like Honda Accord or whatever. And then, but when you input, so this field, you will have these two values, Honda and Toyota. And here, this is called controlling field. And here you have all the values. So Accord, Civic, and so all of this will come over here, and this will have these two values. And then here you can have more. So that's what I was about to say. So let's say you have another one. You have BMW, right? So here you can add, i3, whatever, 3 series, 5 series, right? And then 6 series. So you just do the mapping accordingly. So these, for example, these two go with these two. For example, I can choose a color. These two will go with Toyota, and then you can highlight them. The Honda one, you can go with the Honda. For example, these two, and then BMW, whatever options you have for BMW. So this is, you already know from the customer what they want. So as I said, anything that, what do you want, actually the want comes from the customer. So customer will tell, okay, I need these two dependent fields, and then you can ask, okay, what is the controlling field, what is the options, and then you choose, okay, we can use this. So what I'm basically trying to keep saying, that whatever we are learning here, all these are basically, you are learning different tools, right? So this one, you can say that this is my wrench, this is my hammer, right? This is my screwdriver, right? And so does, when you actually work in real field, and if I want you to do something, do you ask me that what tool should I use, or you just know the tools? So I will say, hey, I need to hang this picture, okay? And I'll say, okay, where do you want? So you will ask the question that, okay, where do you want? And I'll say, okay, I want this in my living room. It's like, okay, can you show me the picture? How big is it? How heavy it is? I'll show you the picture. You said, okay, I need this size of screw, and I need to use the stud, and I need to do this way, that way, and I use it. And then you will use some tools in your, from your bucket. You take out hammer, you take out screwdriver, you take out drill, and then you do that. But you don't ask clients about, okay, what tool do I need to use? But you ask client based on what he wants to do, and then you use your expertise, your tools, and basically you solve the problem. So whatever we are learning right now, I'm telling you what are the tools. How will they be used is based upon your expertise, and when you do a lot of practice, then you know that, okay, if I need to do this, what what tool can I pick up from my toolbox? Is it something to do with my profiles? Is it something to do with my permission sets? Is it something I can use OWD setting? Is it something like, you know, field dependencies and whatnot? So think about it. Right now you are independently learning different tools separately. Okay, this is tool, another tool, another tool. And that's why a lot of times you might have a question that, okay, how do I know? And you will know. Once you practice, you will know. There is no written statement which will tell that, okay, this queue will be used in like 10 different places. There won't be anything like that. How do you know? Based on your experience, based on your understanding of the functionality, or the tool functionality. So if you have a hammer, you don't find a checklist which will tell, okay, hammer will be used in these 20 places. You will know how the hammer works, you will use it some places, and then you will actually use hammer in a places of the all the weirdest things that you can even somebody can put it down, because now you know the tool, you know the strength, you know the weakness, you know the functionality, and then you can use it wherever it fits the best. Maybe for the same problem I might not use the same tool, I might use some other tool. So as I said, in that, as you can have multiple tools for the same problem solution, same thing in Salesforce. So it's not always the one way you can solve a problem or implement something, but there is a possibility there could be more than one ways. But because you know multiple ways, based on your experience and based on your familiarity and based on your implementation experience, you will learn which one is the best tool to use. And if you don't, then in your team, maybe there are some more people that they can help you choose the tool, but you know how to use the tool, so you can use it, but they can help you. Or you can always go back and use the Salesforce community and put your questions, and then they can guide you. But as I said, as you move forward, as you do a couple of implementations, everything will be crystal clear. Okay. So all right, so any other questions for the field dependencies before we move forward? Okay, very good. All right, so now we are jumping into our one of the serious and very long and very important um, topic, which is security. So security is very critical, and why, right? When you think of security, you always think like, okay, I can secure something, or some functionality, or secure from the hacking, or secure, for the data breach purposes. However, in Salesforce, the security is for actually business processes as well. I mean, along with all the other items. So yes, we want to secure our data from outside hacks. We also want to secure our data from unapproved or not approved access. We want to make sure our data is seen by the right people, but not only outside the organization, but inside the organization as well. So let's talk about this a little bit before we move forward. Um, so for example, as I said, you have an application, right? So let's say you develop an application, and our application is in Sales Cloud. Okay. With this application, you have created different objects, right? So you have object 1, object 2, object 3, object 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 different objects. Okay, everyone with me so far? And then you have fields. So you have field 1, field 2, and so on and so forth, right? Everybody agrees so far? This is how the typical Salesforce structure goes by. So you have application, you have object, you have fields, and then what is next? You have data. So you have data, or what is the other word for data? Come on, come on, come on.
Records.
Records, absolutely. So records, so you have record 1, you have record 2, and so on and so forth. And this will go for all the different fields. Okay, so this is your high level Salesforce. This is your application. This is your objects. These are your fields, and this is your data. So this is your, you can say, 4 different main areas of your overall Salesforce, in terms of records. Okay, everybody is with me, hopefully. Nothing to explain, straightforward. Now, think about the situation, like think about, like, if you're working for a bank, right? Let's say if you're working for a bank, what kind of different roles in the bank? So you can have a manager, or let's start with a higher. So you can have, let's say, a director, you can have a manager, and then you have reps. Okay, so director can have multiple managers under him, right? Or if I do it a little better, then I can do something like this. Okay, so you can have multiple managers under one um, director, and each manager can have multiple reps in his team, rep 1, rep 2, and so on and so forth, right? Like a typical hierarchy, right? So you have like a high level, then second high level, then third high level, and then in any like any other organization, you can have more hierarchies or different type of hierarchies. But I'm just picking up a very typical example, and then again you can have another director. So you can have two directors. Director 1 has manager 1 and 2 under him, and director 2 has manager 3 and 4 under him, just for as an example. Okay, so this is, let's say, this is your hierarchy. Okay, now why the hierarchy is important in Salesforce, especially why we are talking about Salesforce. So why hierarchy is important? Because this will tell us, or our customer will tell us, that okay, who needs to see what. Okay, so for example, if you have, instead of bank, I can say over here is CTO. Okay, so you have, this is the whole system is for the bank, and the highest position that you can have is a CTO. He has two directors. Each director has two managers, and each manager is in multiple reps. Now, we, as a Salesforce consultants, we created an application which has this database, right? This is a complete database. Now, CTO, as a CTO, my customer, and again, who is I'm talking to, let's say I'm talking to my customer, who is one of the managers, is actually their point of contact. So in technical terms, or normally the way we represent the customer point of contact is product owner. Okay, so who is product owner? Product owner is normally product owner, right? Product owner is normally referred as customer POC. POC is point of context, right? So customer point of C is the product owner. So one person, and again, it could be anybody. He could be a rep, he could be a manager, he could be a director, he could be a CTO. Somebody who knows what to build, like in Salesforce, and whatever questions that you have, and then let's say the PM will be from the Salesforce implementation team, right? So let's say we are a Salesforce implementation team. We are working as Unbox Consulting, right? And we have a team. So our guy PM will represent us for our team, and then the product owner will represent them. However, the business talk will all done by BA, or if you have SBA, which is senior business analyst, so BA or SBA. But the overall team management and team lead will be your PM, right? But if you are talking about the business discussions, how the system works, we have BA or SBA. And in some cases, I have seen that for smaller projects, your PM can also become SBA, right? So he can take care of all the technical questions if he's comfortable with for a smaller project. But I will represent from now on, anytime I'm referring to product owner, you should understand that it means the customer. So the customer is there, okay? So a guy, we are working with them at a bank, he's a product owner, she's a product owner. So the product owner will tell me who needs to see what, and what does that mean? So for example, I go to product owner and said, Mr. Product Owner, Mr. CTO can see what? And when I say what, meaning is, can he see application? Can he see objects? Can he see fields? Can he see data? Okay, so he said, Mr. Product Owner tells me that as a CTO, he needs to see everything, all the records, which is the smallest, to the applications, the top level. He needs to see everything. So when I say everything, what does that mean? So what it means is, in reality, what will happen is you have, if you remember, you have reps, right? So reps are actually creating, reps will be creating your records. Okay, so he created a record one. So Mr. Rep one created a record one, and let's say created record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rep 2 has created record 6 to 10. Okay. So when you are owner of a record, so whatever he created, he become owner of that record. Make sense? So whoever is creating, they become owner. Okay. Now he obviously he needs to have access to this application. First of all, he also needs to have access to this object. He also need to have access to this field, and he should have access in able to create the record. So if he has all the right access, he can able to create record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he becomes the owner of that record. Same thing for rep 2, that he needs to have access to application, object, field, and able to write and able to create the data. So he have access, and he also able to create, and he become owner of these and this. Now, for example, rep 1 works for auto loan. Okay, and rep 2 works for home loan. Okay, Mr. Product Owner tells me that I don't want rep 1 to able to see records created by rep 2, because he has nothing to do with them. He works in a different department, he works in an auto loan, and he has nothing to do with the home loan. So I don't want rep 1 to see records created by rep 2, and I don't want rep 2 to see records created by rep 1. Does it make sense? Anybody?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, okay. Straightforward, right? Why? Because they have different departments, and it could be something like instead of auto, it could be like sales department, this could be marketing, this could be IT, this could be something else. And in same organization, or very specifically, this could be accounting, and then rest of the thing. So nobody wants to see the accounting, right? Because then you know how much everybody makes, how much everybody can get bonuses and this and that. That could be very detrimental for the company, right? So you need to make sure, because they also like your so another could be your accounting, right? Accounting department will also creating records, right? And they become owner of those records. And guess what? If I'm able to go in and able to see all the records from accounting. It can show me how much the company is making, how much they are paying, lot of information, which as a company owner or whoever is the company owner, Mr. CTO and directors, they don't want everybody to see that, right? So now it becomes how to secure the data within the organization. Who can see what? Now we just talk about records, right? How about you have different fields? So for example, we have we have different fields. For example, we have 10 fields. Let's say we just talk about another object called object 1. And let's talk about, let's say there are fields, field 1 to field 10. Okay, all the fields are okay for everyone to view, right? There's some generic information, maybe customer information, name, email, and everything. However, there is one field that only manager or higher can read, okay, or can view for now. Let's keep it consistent. Okay, so you have 10 fields, and that field can be, a dollar amount, right? So usually if it is a dollar amount, obviously you don't need to know. For example, if it is something that you need to know, then it's okay. For example, if you need to know how much this guy purchased and how much discount do we need to give, then it's fine. But let's say you are only in service and you don't need to know as a sales rep or a service rep that how much the car is being bought by. All you need to check is if he has an active service agreement, can we provide service to him or not. We don't need to give you numbers that how much he bought for. So that's where you said, okay, we have a field within the same object, so same form, same, this is, if you remember, each object is like a same page, right? In the same page there are 10 fields. 9 of the fields are acceptable that everybody can view, but one field is that you don't want to show it anybody but manager and higher. So manager can see it, director can see it, CTO can see it, but no rep can see it, no matter what. No rep can see it. Okay, so that comes up that, okay, now we need to hide some fields also. We said we need to hide some records. Now we are saying, and they're different, so different type of records need to be hidden, different type of fields need to be written. Same thing with object. So let's say there is object number 10 which is related to accounting, right? Same thing, that this object can only be viewed by maybe accounting team and only CTO. No director, no manager, only CTO can see that, or accounting team can see that. So accounting team can even have reps, but they belong to accounting. So obviously they are providing the input, they are calculating, they are doing everything, wages, running your paycheck, running your payroll, whatever. So they need access, obviously. But then apart from accounting team, only CTO can able to see that, and that's it, nobody else. All right, so we see that, and even in applications, so let's say you have Sales Cloud, and we just took a simple example, but you can have an org that you're creating, that you have sales, you have service, and you have marketing. You have 3 different apps that you have created, right? Same thing. I don't want maybe reps for whoever is the director one is managing the sales, so he and his team, his managers and his reps can able to see this application, but the marketing is only seen by director two and his team, his managers is his team, and manager one cannot able to even see these two applications, not even application, forget about object field. If he don't see this, guess what, he cannot see anything else, right? Everything is below that. So if we block these two, then everything else is blocked anyways, right? And but the CTO, Mr. CTO can see all the applications, all the objects, all the fields, everything. So far does everybody's clear that what does it even mean by security or permissions? These are all same thing, we will use them. So security, permissions, access, what kind of access do you have, what does it mean by Salesforce? Does it make a little bit sense to everybody?
Yes.
Very good. Anybody else? Yunus or Shumaila, Rabia? I'm going to start calling names. Do I have any of those people? Rabia, I see your name. Shamila.
What was the question? Can you say that again, please?
Okay, that's why I'm asking the question. Are you guys clear with the overall understanding of different access requirement? What does it mean by when you need access to accounts, records, apps, objects, things of that sort?
Yeah, it's almost clear. I mean, so when we'll go along, I think
What is not clear?
I mean, I understand everything. What is the restriction? Like, if there's some restriction you cannot see, like, so
Right.
that's what I understand.
Yeah.
I like.
So, okay. So one thing is, I think in order to make sure everybody is connected, I will start taking the names. Okay. And I will try not to repeat my question because that means that you're not listening, right? So make sure you are looking into the screen, understanding it, and I'll start picking up on you guys with the name. So I will call next time with a particular name, and you need to answer me. And if you ask me that, oh, what is the question? So everybody will know that you were not listening. Okay. So let's start this game to see how much you guys are paying attention. Okay. So okay, so we'll start from next question. So basically right now what I just showed you, because I will ask questions that, okay, what do you mean by fields, data, objects and things? And if somebody is coming back saying, oh, why do you need to hide the records? That's what I'm trying to tell you right now, that when we actually working in an environment, there could be multiple layers that you need to provide access. Okay. So for example, I gave you an example that in some cases you need to hide records from even each other, same team, but you don't need to show each other records. In different teams, they don't even need to see the object. In some other scenarios, you don't need to show that. So how would you achieve that? Because when you create an application, and if you assign the same profile, everybody will see everything. So as a scratch, as a day one, if you just have 4 different users and you are admin and you assign, let's say, same profile to everybody, and you allow everybody to see everything. So everybody will able to see everything, right? And that's not how things work. Because as I said, CTO should able to see everything. Directors may able to see everything for their manager 1, 2 and their reps. Director 2 may able to see manager 3, 4, 1, 2 rep. And what do you mean by able to see them? So records that these guys are creating. So who is actually creating the records? In our example, let's take an example where reps are creating the actual records. So the record created by rep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, who can able to see those records? So in most of the cases, managers, obviously director, and obviously CTO, right? And again, it can vary. In some cases, there could be different settings, but I'm just taking an example that a typical way rep one and rep whatever they're creating, it should be able to at least see by their manager and at least see by director and at least see by CTO. And then we can look into that all more, there is more than C. So I will talk about that. But just to be make sure, because all of these different options are for different things, right? That's what we're gonna go in today. So there are different things that you can control with a profile. There are different things that you can control through permission sets. There are different things that you can control through field, page layouts, organization word default, role hierarchy, and sharing roles. Because at the end of the today class, you'll be like, okay, what are we using for what, right? So that's why I want to make sure that you are super clear that what is needed. First of all, you need to understand the question even to come up with the answer. So the question right now is, there are application, we have objects, we have fields, and we have records, and we need to have a different mix and match, that some people can see this, some people can see that. And when I say some people, why? Because let's say our team, your actual team for the, like at the Bank of America, for example, who's our example, you can have, let's say 5 people work for that, right? So you can have an admin, let's say you have one admin, then you have reps, let's say you have 3 or 4 reps, okay? Then you have a director, you have, let's say 2 directors, right? And you have 2 directors, and then you have a CTO. Okay, so this is your team, right? This is your team, and you are admin of that team, right? Now, every person, do you know that every person, first of all, they need what? They need a Salesforce license. Okay, so this is your internal team who you are creating. You are creating a Salesforce instance that can they can able to work. And if you remember, we created an application for like a pharma, Star Pharma, right? So what was Star Pharma is one of the application that we created. And then and then you will create different users. So what is users? So let's talk about users, right? I did introduce you users in the first class. I'm going back and now kind of trying to connect the the dots. So what is users? So if you go to, sorry, go to home and go to users. So if you remember, um, there were, I discussed that we have two users in this practice dev version that we can create. And the first one that you created with your username and everything, they become your main admin. So we'll keep assigned the system admin profile. We'll talk about profile just after this. And then I created another user called test user. If you haven't, I'm sorry, if you haven't created a user, this is your time. So all you need to do is you can go to new user. So this is your second user, right? Just so that I can remember, you can call this user whatever. So you can remember, you can have like a rep one. I call it like a test user or whatever, but you can call it, let's say representative one, or you can call it user one. You have another user, whatever you have called it, that will be there. So you can create this one. All you need to do is just to provide an a legit email, a username, nickname, and then over here you can assign the license, which is Salesforce license. So you don't see the license right now. Why? Because I already used it. But you will have that license, so you can select the license, or it might come up automatically. I already used it, so it won't show up. And then you can keep all the defaults, and then save it, and then you will get an email, and then you can use those new email and password. So it will have an email on your email account. You will create a password. So now you will have two different users that you can log in. So what you will have, you will have you will have your name. So for example, you as an admin, and that's your actually user one in Salesforce, right? And then you can create a second user that is also provided, and you can call it, let's say, user 2, and then that's your user 2, right? And then both of them, you can go back to your Salesforce, and actually, let's say if I log out, right? And you can actually get back here, and you can actually provide your user to username and password, and you can log in. So you are now treating the Salesforce as two different people. If they log in, what is the difference and why we need that? Because we will, as an admin, we will make some changes, and then we can log in as a second user and see how does a user will see that, right? You got the point, that we are making changes as an admin, and then we log out, log back in as another user, which is user 2, and then test out whatever we are doing it. Let's say if we are hiding some fields, if we are creating some profiles, if we are hiding the apps, if we are allowing the apps, just to see how it looks like. Unfortunately, we don't have that many licenses, so we cannot test all the scenarios, but you can assume that at least you have one other user that you can log in. So this user admin will basically do the make changes. And this second user, which I just show you how to create, will do the testing. So you can even call it like a test user. I think I call it test user, just because of that this user, we are using as a tester. So you can call it test user, and then you can test. So for example, you can hide an application, and then you can log in from this user, and then you can log in and see if that user can see that application or not. If he cannot, good, you check mark, okay, test it. Go back, log in back as an admin, make some changes, log out, log back in again as a user, and see if the change is there. Okay, so there are some changes that you can even check on your own. Like as an admin, you can test it on your own. But if, for example, if there are changes you are doing that you don't want to make on an admin, but on a second user, then you can actually log out. So it's up to you. There are a few things that you have to use it as a second user, and there are some changes that you can test it on your own account as an admin. Any question from this part? Any confusion that you have? Why? What do you mean by user one, user two, or any other question? Anything that you're not clear upon this user items? Anybody? Zark.
Yes.
Tell me, why do I need testing user?
Because with the first account, we can make the changes, and then on the second one, we can test it. If the changes we made, we are able to see it.
Awesome. Thank you. You get a new car.
Thank you.
I'll send you the keys. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So that's why we need two users. And as I said, how do you create a new user? You can just go to home, you go to quick find, you hit users, and like right now you are seeing this user already because I have created, but when you go for the first time, you will only see the user that you have created. And then some of them is a default one. So for example, chatter is a default. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. It's a different functionality. So they gave you another user for testing the functionality. This one is an extra user I created. This is extra user. This is extra user. User integration, you will see it. User security, user test. So you may ask me that, okay, you said you can only have one other, right? You can have yours and one other. How come you have that many? But if you just go and check over here active, all of them are inactive. So at one point you can only have two users. So rest of them are, as I said, these are integration user, security user, and chatter user. So these three, these are something else that we'll talk about it in future classes. So for now, just forget about it. Don't worry about chatter user. Don't worry about integration user. Don't worry about security user. But this user is the one that I created as by clicking new user. And that is, I will get my email, whatever email I provide here. I can go into the email. I can set up the password for that second user. And then it will behave exactly like the way that you are using your first user. That you can log in, you can do that. But how will we use the second user? Is as an admin, we behave like an admin and we make changes for this user. So we will only selectively make changes for this user. And then we'll go back and log in as a second user. And that will be something like, for example, this second user is nobody, but let's say it's a rep one. So you are actually now log in as a rep one and see, okay, if admin make a changes, if we hide a application or an object from me, can I see that? Is it working? So then you log in as a rep one second user and see whatever function that you have done or hide it or show it, is it working or not? And you can be good to go. All right, very good. So so far we understood how to create users. Why do we need users? What is the difference between the two users? I think hopefully everything is crystal clear. Now let's get back to our cheat sheet and really look at it, what we were doing. Okay, so now, okay, so all of these things are kind of related. So I will start with the first and the foremost important is profile. So what is profile? So let's get back to our cheat sheet and let's get back to our team, right? So this is our team. So in this team, this two of them are headers. And this admin is actually our user. So I'll highlight that. Okay, so this is our team. We have what, how many? We have 9 people in our team. And I just told you we need 9 licenses, right? And now there is something called profile. Okay, so what is profile? So profile means, and then there are multiple things, but profile is the first and the foremost to start, and then we will add more items to that. So, so let's think about Salesforce as an office building. So in your office, if you work for an office which has a big building, multiple floors, multiple other tenants are there as well. So what will happen when you get the job and when they give you the key to get into the building, right? So normally they give you a swap card that first of all, when you're entering into the building, you can swap the card, you can get into the building, right? So that could be equivalent to our application, right? So if I don't give you the application, but I give you the data key, and think about object as a first floor, second floor, third floor, fields as different rooms, and data as different drawers. Within that room, there's a there's a safe, and there are different. If you open up the case, there are different drawers, and if you open up a drawer, there are different records, right? So if I if I don't give you the key for the gate, which is key for the application, but I gave you the key for everything else, does it even make sense? No,
No.
right? I mean, you cannot enter from the front door, but you have the keys for the safe. I mean, unless you are Tom Cruise and you want to get from the top or something, that's a different thing. But I mean, if you are just a good regular citizen like myself, you need the key main door to get in, right? So first thing is I need to have access to the application. So I enter into the building. Now let's say my office is in floor third. Now if I go on the floor third, let's imagine every floor has a separate door. Once you go to the elevator or by stairs, every floor has one main door, and again you need to swipe. So I need to access this card and think about like different keys. So I got one key, then I got another key for the floor, then I got a key for getting into my office, or let's say a office. I work in a marketing office, and within that I have my own drawer. I have a key for that. Okay, so that's how it works. So all of these settings from the start to end will define that where do you end up. Okay, now for example, if you if you have a hard keys or something like that, which you want to create, and you just want to create at least one key that can give maximum people access based on whatever they need, and then if you need extra keys, then you will start giving separate keys to separate people. What it means, for example, let's say there's a server room, right? And then you have a key for main entrance, you have a key for floor, and then you have a key for getting into the office, and then you have a key for server room. So if I have the same lock for all three locations except the server room, is that okay that I can just create one key for all three and give it to everybody? Because everybody needs to at least get into the office, but the server room key I did not program in anybody's, and I can separately give the server key to the people who work in a server room. Does it make sense?
Yeah, right.
Right? I mean, so what you look it up, okay, what I said so far is what is the most restrictive in terms of, okay, what is the access that everybody can have, right? If everybody can able to get into my office, so let's say I say everybody should able to get into application, object, and field, then I can create a key which have all three access, and they can able to get in there. So I can just create one key, right? And then I can make copies and give it to everybody. Okay, and then I can create one more key just for the server room, and I only give it to director, CTO, and the person who works in the room. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so profile. So profile is kind of same idea, that it is the main key, and then so you will check, okay, and then you can have different profiles also. You don't need to have one profile. So there are different type of profiles. You can create different profiles. Now let's say if I create, so for example, admin will also always have admin profile, right? So admin profile is just imagine he has everything, right? He has all the keys, he can do everything because he will manage everything, right? So he need to get access for everything possible, right? Because he's the main guy, so he has access to everything. So he's a different profile. So I created a profile like admin. So I'm now calling the name of the profile. So admin profile is called admin profile. Do you think I should give this admin profile to anybody else?
No.
No. Why?
Because admin has access to everything, right?
But maybe you can ask me that I'm a CTO. Why should not I have that access?
Because admin is gonna create the CTO's account.
Exactly. So admin will create, and also CTO is not an expert, right? CTO is not a Salesforce expert. He's a one of the highest positions, but he don't need the admin because he's not going to create accounts. He's not going to go and solve problems. He's not going to do anything. Yes, he will able to see everything, but that doesn't mean that I can give him the admin profile. It's not because he's a boss of me. He's like a 4-tier boss, but his job is different. Yeah, he needs to see everything. That's true. I will take care of that. But we don't need to give him the admin profile because admin profile is the profile which has every access. He can delete, he can add, he can kick out users, he can bring in users, and even he can even kick out CTO if needed, because maybe tomorrow your CTO is changed. So who will close his profile? Who will make sure that he do not have access to Salesforce anymore? Mr. Admin. So Mr. Admin is unique. He has a unique profile. Nobody else have the same admin profile. Everybody agrees. Okay, very good. Now we just discussed that wrap. Let's say we also make this. So for example, now rep 1, 2 belongs, how many we have? 2. So let's say rep 1 and 2 belongs to one department, which is marketing. Rep 3, 4, 5 belongs to another department. Director 1 is from this rep 1 and 2. He's the manager of them. Sorry. He's the director of this. I'm sorry, I should have created, but that's, I hope you understand. And rep 3 is basically director of this, and then obviously CTO is for on top of everybody. So basically this director 1 is over here, or let me do that. So director 1 is right here, and then here is director 2, and then this will be rep whatever. I think you got it. Okay, so let's say this is so this department, this blue one is basically, let's call this a sales department, and this other department is the marketing, and then CTO is actually on both of them, right? So we have a separate director for sales, and then we have, so instead of license, or I can keep the license here, I can say they have only for sales, right? And these guys are for marketing, and both of these are, just imagine they're separate applications. So all these are marketing, and then obviously he's on top of everything, so he needs to see everything, right? Okay, so now basically what I'm saying is, what is profile? So before creating profiles, what do we need to understand is that this team is one team, and this team is second team. Now within this team, at least what do they need? At least. So let's say if this is a sales team, at least they need access to the sales app. Correct? Everybody with me? All right. Okay. What else do they need at least? So let's say there are 5 different objects, right? Let's imagine that all the reps and director, everybody needs access to all the objects. So we can have object access to all five objects, access to all of them. And then after that, let's say we need, some fields can be hidden from somebody else. So that's fine. We can leave that for now. But let's say this is the criteria. Here also, they need at least access to marketing, at least this one. So whatever is the minimum thing that they need, you use them and create a generic profile. Does it make sense? And this profile you can call sales profile. Okay, and you give the minimum access that they have, right? And then here you can create marketing profile, and we'll see how you can create it. Marketing profile. Okay, now for example, this guy, like director guy, he need more access. Okay, so we can add some more access using something called permission set. So don't worry about it, we'll go through that. But this is there's a there's an additional item that you can use permission sets, and now we can add from the profile, and we can add this. So I cannot put add because this is giving me function, or maybe I can do like this. Okay. So I can add permission set to this guy. He's a director. I need some additional to this guy. And then I need some additional stuff to this guy. Everybody so far with me? Okay. Also, I don't worry about what is permission set, but you can add some extra keys so that you can have some extra door access. Think about it. Okay. All right, so let's take a pause here. There are some more things, but we'll come back. So let's see what actually profiles look like. So far you guys have good idea what profile is, what not. So first thing first, we go here and we click profile, and you can boom, get into a profile. And then all these profiles are created. Now, if you want to create a new profile, the easiest way to do that is, let's start with the system administrator profile, or any profile that you want, but we know that system admin has everything. So if you open up the system admin profile or any profile, there's a button called clone. So you clone that, and then you can create your own. So this is not test, but my
Yep.
sys admin profile. So you created.
That you said they should have the permissions that are common to everyone.
Mhm.
Is that the way we do? Okay.
Yes. So right now okay. So right now we just cloning, and right now we go into that profile and add or remove things that what we need.
Okay.
Okay. Right now we just take like a built-in profile which has all the access, or you can take another profile. Again, this is just an example. So for example, you can go here and say, I want to change the sales profile, right? And you just basically, one thing is, don't start making changes to the profiles which are already there. Okay, because then you will lose what it was come as a default. Always first time, if you are creating a new profile, clone it, give it your own name, and then make changes, and we can use this profile because we know that what it is. And then tomorrow, if we actually need to know what sales profile looks like, then you still have the default, because again, if you overwrite, then it will be overwritten, right? So that's the purpose. So let's skip that. Let's get back to sales profile. So we open up a profile, whatever profile which are already there, we don't care, because we will make all the changes ourselves, right? And let's say we said, okay, we are creating a sales profile. We clone an existing profile. Now this is a fresh profile, that it's not a fresh, but we created with our own name, and now we will make the changes. Okay, so first let's review what it has. So it has different sections. I'll go ahead and go through each section quickly. So first section is profile details, who created, name, created by, all that good stuff. Console setting, there is a way, the way you are looking at it right now is called a regular view. There's a console view also. Right now we are not going into console view. This is called page layout. So today we will go through page layouts also. So the page layout is, for example, when we created for example, a new tables. So the layout, that how the pages look like, how does the field, which field is first, second, third, how the, how the view is, that is called page layout. So page layout, we can go and change page layouts. We can also create new page layouts. So we'll go into that in today's session as well, hopefully, if we have time. Then there's something called field level security. Now, does anybody remember from my table that there is something called field level security? So here you go. So now we have something, we can control the field level security, that who can see how many fields. So as I said, you have 10 fields, if you remember this one. If you remember this one, that all of them have access to these 9 fields, except the final 10th field, and you don't have access. So how do you control who can see, who cannot see the field? Through the field level security. And how does it look like? If I click, for example, if you remember our own creation. So for example, Ali property info, let's talk about that. So let's, for this profile, and again, this profile can only assign to one person, or a group of person belong to the same group, right? So think about that. So we can create what, we will create one more profile for marketing, but this is for the people from there. So here in this profile, you have all these different fields. So I can edit, and all I can say is, for example, here we have access called read access and edit access, right? So as a default, what do you want? You want all of them to see how many fields. Like in this case, we can take an example. So this property subtype field, I want 9 people to see, but 1 people do not see. Okay. right? And okay, so now I can explain one more option. And before I do that, let's go back here and understand one more thing. So when we talk about access, access can be of multiple types. Okay, access can be read. Anybody else can give me what else could be? Write. What else? Delete. And what else is maybe transfer? Or sorry, create. Transfer is comes under the data part of it. Okay. Does anybody understand these four? What does it mean by create, add, delete, or write? Right? Meaning, can you create a new record? Right? So when you hit new, you are creating a new record. Read, can you actually view the record? Write is not the correct word. It's called edit. An existing record, either by you or by somebody else, can you edit it? Right? Or you can call it make changes. And then obviously delete means can you delete the record, right? So access can be of four different types. Can you create it? Can you read it? Can you delete it? Can you edit it? Okay. So here, um, I'll basically let me come back to that because this is another step. So let's get back to the profile. So these four axes, what we just talked about, let's move on to the next item. So field level security, we just learned about page layouts. We look into field level security. We didn't change anything, but we learned about it. Then we have something called custom apps. So remember these apps that we created called custom apps. So there is a setting, is it visible, not visible? We'll come back to that. Then we have tabs. So remember, whenever we create an object, we create tabs. So which tab do you want to turn on off? You can control from here. Then you have record type. We haven't go through it, but if you want to change, you can come back here and change it. Administrative permission. So for example, do you want a report? Do you want license? Do you want to do this, that? So all of the different features, functionalities, dashboards, they're all written here. So they are controlled from here. So if you want to change the controls, you can come here for a particular set of users. They could be marketing users, so marketing profile, sales user, sales profile, whatever, and you can make the changes or you can select the one they should be allowed to view. So these are different functionalities. And then you have journal user permissions. Again, these are also some more additional functionalities which are available. And this is your, the one that I just mentioned, we call it CRED, CRED. C for create, R for read, E for edit, D for delete. And what is here? You have different objects. So we, again, you know that we have two different type of objects, standard and custom. So both are here and all the lists are here. And then you can choose as an admin that if I'm creating the, for example, here comes to the custom, right? So for custom, let's say for the profile I'm editing, I don't want to give them access to these two. So I can uncheck everything, and then they won't able to read, create anything. Now, if I want to give only read and create access to this profile, I can check these two box. I can check all four box. And data administration is something that if you have another resource who actually manage all the data, so then you can give him view all, modify all. And anytime when we are saying that what you can see, what you cannot see, meaning the records from other users as well. So you create your records, you can able to see them. But how about the other records which are created by other users? Should you see them, not see them? So can you able to view or read the other records created by other people? Your own records, you can see it. But other people records in your team, in marketing team, in other team, what is access? So create, can you able to create a new record? Because in some cases you can give an access. If I only select read and do not check on create, so you can able to see the already created records by somebody, but you cannot create a new record. Edit, can you able to edit somebody else record, your own record, things of that. Can you able to delete the record? Obviously, most of the time we uncheck this from all the other users, except if you have a data administrator or if you have an admin, only they are allowed to delete, or maybe the managers or or directors, they have access. So based on whatever your company model is, that what they have access, what they're not, so you can select them. And then you have some other basic setting like password policies. What kind of policies do you want? Login hours. So you can able to, so for example, this profile, let's say it is for sales people, and you only want them work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And after that, if they try to access Salesforce, they will not able to access it. So you can even lock down the hours that they need to use. For example, you have the IP for the office, so you can lock the IP that Salesforce can only be accessed by these set of IPs from office and none from there. For example, let's say you work for government sector, um, and you know that Salesforce is on a cloud. So technically you can access it from anywhere. But if I can block it as an admin from login IP ranges, that if my IP is not matching what admin have configured, then it will not able to log in from outside the IP. If I, same thing with the hours, and then there are some other additional items which I'm not going to go in the detail, but just to give you an idea that you can actually edit that and start making the changes. So I can edit it, and then I can start making the changes. I can check box. Now I can make whatever changes I want. So, so for example, if I go to CRED, so I can, for example, if we go to custom objects, okay, for offer object, let's say I want to give all the options, I can do that. So this one has as a relationship. That's why if you want to uh, see the view, you also need to do that, because it is have a master detail relationship, I believe. Same thing, like you can check on whatever you want. So this is the access. So this access for this profile, can they able to read the records? Can they able to create the records from this object? This is hospital's object. So again, if you are not following up, so what it means is, for example, if I log in as a sales team, right? Can I able to click new and able to create a new access? You can block that. Okay. If I log in as a sales, and if I able to view, can I able to edit? Right now I can, because I'm an admin. But as a user, if I log in, can I able to edit this number? Of course not, because if I'm rep, why would I change the price, right? Maybe you should not have an access. Even if somebody needs to change it, that should be the manager, maybe the director, right? So you should not have this added access. So how can I remove that? From here. So you can even as a default, and again, this is common across all them, that none of them should have access. So you can remove the, for example, edit access, right? So you cannot able to edit things. You can able to read, create, and these two are not valid for the users, because only as a manager I need it. And these two service, these two things, I can add through another tool called permission set. So I will explain that. But right now, just understand that whatever the most restrictive conditions, that goes into your tool. So that goes into the profile. So everybody should able to read and everybody should able to create, then I can check these two. Now I need to give this edit and delete permission only to manager. Then I will use something called permission sets using the same profile, but I give these two extra access to manager. And then with the combination, and if you remember from here, that he will have the same profile as this one. So if I don't give this permission, he also not able to edit and delete. But then there is another tool called tool number 2 called permission set, and I can pull that tool and give that access, extra access to the director, and now he can able to edit and delete. But rest of the team, these two folks have only able to view and able to create, but cannot able to edit, cannot able to delete.
So Khurram,
Yes.
one thing. So basically, you're creating one general profile for all the group, and you assign those basic profile to everyone.
Absolutely.
But you modify for particular people like directors or I would say the other people. You're changing.
Not from the profile. Just keep in mind
Yeah, that's what I'm
that this
saying. Like
profile is locked
using,
for the basic.
yeah,
I use
using
another
permission
tool
sets.
from permission set and give additional keys. So think about
Additional.
profile as the key number 1, and all three have, first of all, I give this one key to all 3 people. And then I have another key, which I only give it to director. So now director have additional access.
Right. So once you have generic one, your assign is easier, like, and then you give the specific permission.
You can call this as more like a global for the group. And again, we
Right.
always talk about group, because when you say global, I mean, because we are considering that every organization have different departments, right? So it's not possible that you can have global profile for everybody. I mean, you can have, but it's usually hard. Like you have different departments, obviously, you can have one profile too, but um, nobody have actually asked me that why cannot we can create profile for everybody like a separate profile. Nobody asked me that. Or can somebody answer me that why? I mean, why I'm creating like sales profile and marketing profile and doing ad permission and an admin profile. So far I created 3 profiles, right? Admin profile, which is default, then I create sales profile and marketing profile, and then I use another tool called permission sets, and I can add to these 3 people. I don't need to use permission sets if I create the separate profiles for everybody. Is it possible or is it not possible?
I think if you're creating separate profile, you don't need permission set. I mean,
No,
if
because
you
I can directly give the whatever
right,
permission they need right off the bat. Like I can have a separate profile, like a called director profile, and give all the access you need from profile, and that's it. I don't need permission sets.
right,
And then I can have separate profile for sales, and then so I can add maybe one profile here, one profile for another director, and then one profile for here. So how many do we have now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So within like 9 people, I already set 6 profiles. So what is the problem with that?
Too many profiles to manage.
Yeah.
Too many. Yeah.
Now multiply with like 100 people. How would you manage 100 profiles, separate 100 profiles? Now, for example, if you need to give access, additional access to somebody, like let's say you need to give additional. So, for example, now, okay, now I can give you some scenarios that where does it work? Right? So, let's say the marketing team and sales team, most of the time they work together. Okay, so marketing team send an email to sales team saying that, hey, you have a client called ABC, and you have multiple records. We are creating a marketing campaign and we need access to their records. Okay, or we need to access to the object for like a 1 week so that we can look into the data, create some reports, and after that we will remove the access. So it will go to the sales team approve it, and then it comes to admin. Okay, and let's say you have 25 people in sales team, and then it is approved from the sales team saying yes, that's fine, you can have access for 1 week, you can run all the reports and you can create your campaign, and then after that just block the access again, right? This is type of job that you will get if you work as an admin. So you open up your laptop, you get an email, and from the sales director, he says that, hey, Mr. Ali, marketing team is working on this particular project ABC. They need to create a marketing campaign, and they need access to this object for 1 week, and please give access to all 25 people of the marketing, and after 1 week you can take the access back. This is your, let's say this is one of your typical tickets. Now think about it, if you have created separate profiles for all 25 people, good luck with that, right? Now you go back, open up each profile, give the access, maybe test it out, and then it might take you really long time. Rather, if everybody has, at least for the same level, they have same profile, you can just select the profile, give the access, and boom, you're done for 25 people. Does it make sense?
Yes.
All right, so that's why, but again, if technically if you tell me that, Ali, I like it, but I don't care, I'm stubborn, I can fix 25 profiles, can I create 25 profiles? I'll say yes, sure. Be my guest. You can do that. So technically, there's no problem that you cannot create one profile for everybody, but practically it's not viable because it's gonna be a lot of headache to manage every profile for every person. But let's say you have only 3 people in your org. Yeah, that's fine, not a big deal. 3 people you can manage easily, 10 people you can manage easily. But if you have 50 people and if you have 50 profiles, then good luck. Then it's going to be very, very hard, even with 50, let alone if you have like hundreds and multiple hundreds of people. So forget about it. So the practice or standard is keep the number of profiles as low as possible. That's a more standard practice. And then use tools like permission sets, and I'll show you more tools, but there are additional tools. And what I'm saying is I'm opening up the access. I gave the minimal access to everybody, and I can use tools to open up the access. You cannot go other way around. This is very important thing. What it means is if I already gave you access through profile, I cannot use permission sets to block the access. Does it make sense? All the tools, including permission sets, and we will learn a couple of more, you can only open up the access. So you can give more access to people, but you cannot take away access using permission sets or other if already is allowed in the profile. Do you know what I'm saying? Does it make sense? So what it means is if I already gave you all the keys to get into all the rooms and all the floors and all the offices and all the things from profile, and now I'm saying, okay, I don't want you to get into the floor too. Use the permission set. I cannot do that because you already have the key in your profile. Make sense? But if you don't have the key for second floor, right? And out of 25 people, only one person need that. So I can use permission set and give that extra key to that one person or one director, and he can able to get into floor two, nobody else. So I can open up the access. I can give more access, but I cannot restrict the access. This should be like a crystal clear in your head, 100% clear, that you can open up the access using other tools like permission sets and more, but you cannot revert back if you already give access in the base condition, which is one of them is profile.
So there's no other tool like permission tool. There's no restriction tool if you
No,
want to
there's no
restrict it.
restriction tool. Simple answer, no. You have, that's why I said you have to, whatever the minimum conditions you are comfortable giving everybody, that is your profile conditions. So for example, if 9 people, so let's say I gave you an example, right? 10 people, here, 10 fields are there. Only one field need to be hidden, right? So I need to basically hide all 10 fields from everybody and just give access to one person who needs it. I cannot do that. I can give access to, I can give access to everybody and restrict just the field one. You know what I'm saying? So I cannot do that. I can give more access to one or a small subset of people, but I cannot restrict a small subset of people if I already give access to everybody. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it's 1:06. Let's take a quick 10 minutes break. So 6 meaning, okay, so let's get back in 1:15. So let's use a quick 10 minutes to take a break, have water, whatever. And then we'll meet back in 1:15 in next 10 minutes. Okay. Alrighty, so we are perfect. So okay, so we are back on the profile. So what we can do is, and then what you guys need to do once you start your practice is you can play around with that. You can create a new profile, and what you can do is basically you go back to your users, and the second user that you have, you can change the profile to the new one that you are actually creating. So you see that there is a profile section now. So now it makes sense. So if you walk through, this is your username. Last time when they log in, what is the role? If you assign the role, active, it is the, if it is an active user or not, and then profile. So right here is the profile. So I created a profile, new one. I assigned it to this, my second user. And how you can assign it? You can just go to the user itself. And then when you go to the user, you can edit the user. And remember, when you create the very first time, so what you can do now is create the profile first. And when you're assigning a profile very first time, you can select the profile that you have. So right now I have this one, Ali's system admin, custom profiles that I have. So make sure you create a custom profile, whatever you want. I name my profile as a test user profile because I was using with the test user, and save it. So again, you can create before or you can change after, it doesn't matter. So you already have a user, you're using it, now you learn about profile, that's fine. You can create a profile, go back to the user and update the profile for him. Or, and then if once you change the profile, for example, if he maybe had access before to few applications, maybe he can lose it, or maybe he don't have few, based on your new profile, everything will be changed. So think about it, this is the way you can change the people what they want to see now versus future. So tomorrow if somebody you want to give more access, if you change the profile conditions on the profile, he can able to see more or less. So this is all up to your control. So for example, if somebody moved from completely from sales team to marketing team, all you need to do is you go to their profile, and let's say you have a dedicated marketing profile, you just assign the marketing profile. And let's say if you don't need any additional access, he's good to go. So just one simple 1-minute process, you change somebody all the access from sales team to marketing team just by changing the profiles. And let's say if he's a regular sales marketing user, then you are good to go. So now what we can do here is, so this is our second user. And I don't know if I put down here, but okay, so we are here. So I will share this, like I just call this as a cheat sheet with you as well, because it's just helped me to walk through the process one by one if I forget about something which I haven't mentioned. So, and this can also help you if you're doing for the first time. So you can go to setup, quick find users. Quick find is the second, the tab where you put users, profile, whatever. And and then here you have the name, of the profiles. And then if you want to go to the roles, so I haven't talked about roles, so we'll talk about the roles in future, in few minutes. Actually, it's today's session. And then we have permission sets. All right, so now let's say if I want to change something, so I can show you something from the user profile. So for example, this test user profile. Okay, so first I will show you that from the admin profile, what are the different tools that we have created. So we have test app, we have CarMax, we have Star Pharma. So let's go ahead and hide CarMax and Star Pharma from the test user profile. Okay, this is our task, simple task, how we can do that. And then, we can make the changes. And let's say if more people are using the same profile, they also cannot able to see that. So Star Pharma and CarMax, let's hide these two applications from this test user profile. So we go to the test user profile, we edit that. And then obviously you are starting for the first time, so it will take some time to view where all applications are. But again, the custom app is right on the top. So here we need to find the applications. We said Star Pharma. So I mean, it's already hidden, so I'll keep it hiding. So Star Pharma, we are hiding it, so it's visible. Or if I check box, then he can see it. If I take it off, then he cannot see it. And the other one was CarMax.
The left column.
Where?
In the left column. In the middle.
The left, fourth one, number 4.
Okay, here you go. So I can hide the CarMax. So what I'm doing, simple, on a very high level, I can hide the CarMax and there. So these two applications will not be there. Again, as a practice, you can do a lot of other things, but let's start with something basic. Save it. And then what did I mention? That then you can log out and log back in as a test user. So I log out. If you already are using the test user, it normally comes up over here. If you save the password, then it will become a little bit easier. First time you have to input the password, and you need to make sure you are in the test user environment. So see, the name is now coming up as test user. The other profile that I have, the admin profile, it says, I think Ali K or something. But this one is say test user. So now I'm looking at test user. If I go to my test apps, so CarMax, what was the name? Is it Star Pharma that we want to hide or the other one?
Yeah, Star Pharma and CarMax both were supposed to.
CarMax is not there anymore, but Star Pharma is. So let's go ahead and check why we still seeing the Star Pharma. So we go back, we can again needs to log out because right now we are test user. So we can log out, we log back in as an admin, and then we can review. So this part, sometime it become confusing. You're not sure that who you are logged in as, and you are testing on maybe an admin or a user. So just make sure every time you confirm that you are logged in as an admin or a user. So is there another called? So this one CarMax we unhide. Star Farmer test. We have hide it. Is there another Star Farmer maybe? Just verify. Star Farmer test. Okay. Log out. Log back in. Yeah, sometimes it just, for some reason, it just want to access twice. This is still coming up.
I think make it visible this
I
time and go back and then make it invisible.
Yeah, I just deselected that. Like for example, how the CarMax is not coming up. So this should also not come up. Star Pharma test. Let's say we try something else just in case. Z property. Because I'm continuously playing with this account, so maybe I set it up something else, or sometimes it just you have to investigate what exactly the issue is. So for now, we can quickly try something else. And if you have two laptops, it normally helps. Like I usually turn on my like work laptop and here, and then log in like one person over there, and just make it a little bit easier rather than keep switching back and forth. So when you're practicing, and if you by chance have two laptops, that would be gonna reduce your logins, make it a bit easier. So users, is it the same user I'm using? I think there is only one. Okay, also I did one more thing for whatever profile that I will choose, that I read all the view all and modify all access from all the custom, because usually we are working with our custom objects. So I remove all of them, because if you make changes to some other properties, they also able to override, because view all and modify all are only for data administrators. So one thing that you can do, whatever custom profile that you are creating, you can uncheck these two for all the custom profiles at least, because usually we are working with the custom profiles. So here we come back and edit. Even Z property is not there. Something is wrong. Profile. Oh, you know what happened? Can anybody guess?
Wrong test user.
No, I'm just suspecting. I could be wrong, but let's see. Let me check. Yeah, it just acted a little weird. So normally when I practice, I try to log it into from another laptop and then make changes. In that way, you can just refresh and you are good. You don't need to log back in and out again. Okay, can you see that? Let's see who is smart enough to understand what happened here.
So you give the permission to the step arm, right?
So as I said, I used this for practicing as well. So what happened is, although I remove from profile, okay, as I said, you can remove something from profile. So let's say for everybody, I remove it from profiles, right? But I need, for example, this test user, I still need to give access to these two apps. So I can use permission sets to give access to this, which is on top of the profile. So although in your profile, it says you don't have access, but because this is an opening up an access, giving more access, so I can use this one and actually assign it to a particular user and give him the access for whatever he needs in addition to that. So so these two apps or these two applications, I provide permission sets. So actually we just learned about how does permission sets affect the profile. So on profile, I said no access, but then I give and go to permission sets. You just go to permission sets and I'll show you the process again. But I think you can able to see a practical demonstration of how permission sets override the profile in a open up scenario. Like for example, in profile, you have a restricted access for these two apps, but then you use profile and assign it to a particular user and open up the access. Is it clear to everybody? Anybody has question? I know it's not straightforward, but hopefully, it's, I try to clear it up.
Is there any way to see if the profile have permission sets in a single view? Because you are assigning, sorry, profile select. Is there any way to see if the profile have permission sets? Is there any view or something?
So you have to come to profile sets, and then you can see different permission sets, and then you actually have to go to the different permission sets to see what permission sets are there. Or there is some other ways that you can look it up, but it's not a very easy tabular view that you can just right away see, because there are different ways, right? Because profiles can be for multiple users, right? But permission sets are more for individual users. So you can select a user or a group of users and give the permission sets. So how to view it from different ways, maybe I can, once we go forward, maybe there are other ways to look it up, but you need to know this for sure, because you need to know where the permission sets are. And if something is abnormal, like what I did, like I just did a live troubleshoot, because maybe I did this for like a couple of days back, so I don't even remember what I did wrong. But then I just think about it. For first of all, I was thinking that maybe it's not refreshing. But as soon as I see the second app is also not there, then I was like, no, something else is wrong. So then I know another tool called permission set. So next thing comes into my head that, oh, it could be permission set. So let's check if there's any additional permission sets on top of it. So that's how you kind of troubleshoot. And then once you troubleshoot, then you can develop your own ways how you can actually troubleshoot. But troubleshoot is like something that not everything will be appear on your dashboard, and that's why you've been given whatever you've been given. So if everything is on the dashboard, everything you can see it from the dashboard, just click it, then why do they pay you 110, 120, $150,000, right? Not just to push some buttons, right? You need to know and you need to use your brains in order to get that. So that's why it is simple, but it's not simple. Like Salesforce, a lot of people, I didn't heard from this group, but a lot of other groups, when I complete 2 sessions, the next question they normally ask me that, are you sure that this learning by this, we can get 100K job? This looks too easy. I was like, yeah, I know it's easy in the beginning, but when you have all these different options put together, working in an environment, then you have like 100 people, 200 people, whatever, then different permission sets, then it become complicated. That's why they need to pay you what they pay you. Otherwise, 10 bucks an hour is a good salary too. Or like, if you're working on McDonald's, why they have to pay $60 an hour, which is 6x of a McDonald's regular worker, right? So there is something that is not simple. I'm not going to say ever that it is simple, because to be very honest, based on your environment, like Salesforce org, I mean, I'm working currently with a client and it's a non-profit. They have 120 users. So their admin, and they have just one admin. So his admin is, I mean, he's busy all the time. He has a lot of things to take care of. And usually for each organization, if you have 200 people, Salesforce recommend that one admin should be good enough. So you need to normally manage minimum 200 people. It could be more, but 200 people is recommended. That 200 or less people, you should only need one admin. So yes, I mean, it's simple, but it's not simple at the same time. All right. But does it make sense? What is permission sets? The question is, do you understand profiles and permission sets and how you need to use it together? So what I can do is I can delete this permission set and then basically go back and see if those two apps are not visible anymore.
It says that it's been assigned to other users, so it didn't delete it.
Oh, so I need to first so here you can manage the assignments. So let me actually show you what permission sets are, so we can cover this one also, because that was the next topic. So you can come to permission sets, right? So now, as you know that we know that what we are doing. So you come to permission sets, and here it says all permission sets. So you can see the complete list of the permission sets. Let's say you want to create a new one. So click new. You can label whatever you want to label, right? And then here you can choose whatever license do you want. Normally in this case it's going to Salesforce, because there are different people who has different licenses as well. So then it will open up this interface. Okay, so what is this interface? So here it will provide you that you can have permission sets based on assigned apps, different visual force pages, different flows, different apex classes. So here, for example, if we go to assigned apps,
Shouldn't you be editing the assigned apps to assign an app?
where is that edit?
Down.
Oh, sorry. Here you go. So here you can basically select the apps that you want to you hide or whatever you want to view. So for example, a lead test app, you want to you want to hide that. You can basically save it, and then there is something called manage assignment. So which user do you so basically the permission set is like a set of assignments that you can create, right? So you can assign A, B, C app. Now, which are the users who you want to give extra permissions to? So you can, this is the assignment. So for example, if this is my one user, this is my second user, I can select it and assign, right? So this is the assignment that which user. So assignment says in one shot, you can assign it to multiple users. Okay. So in our case, we can just go back and try to unassign the previous one that we have created. So test one, we go to manage assignments, and let's see if we can delete it. Remove assignments. Okay, now let's see if we can delete this. Okay, very good. Now we can delete it. I'll delete this sample as well. So now what we did is we just remove the one that we created, because all of these are actually default ones. So we created our own permission set. And again, permission set is nothing. You can give access, additional access to the to someone. So first you create what applications do you need to give the access, and then you can assign the user. So in my case, obviously I have, from apart from admin, I have only one user. But let's say if you have like 100 users and you need to give this access to like 3 of the 100 people, so you can just check all those 3 users and then assign it. So they will get this additional access. Simple. And now we can, yeah, go ahead.
So let's say you make a profile with basic permissions and you assign it to everyone, and then you create a permission set to assign additional permissions to a user. Now, does that permission set, does it need to have the base permissions as well, or is it just the new permissions that you
The
assign?
new permission, because this will only, you need to just select. So in our case, let's say if you just want to add one more app, so just add one more app and that's it, because rest of them already, whatever he needs, he already have it, right? It's just one additional permission. So remember I told you the keys that everybody has it, you also have it, but then you get one extra key. You don't need to go back and then reassign all of the things that you need, right? No, you just add one additional key, and in this permission set you just add one additional app and good to go. So now let's say everybody has access to one app, and then that one user has now access to two apps in this example.
So if you assign a permission set to a user, it has to have a base profile first,
Of
and
course.
then you can
Yeah,
assign.
so without profile you cannot even create a user.
No, I'm talking about permission set. So if a user is not assigned a base profile, it can't have any permission set on top of that, right?
No, what I'm saying is you cannot create a user without a profile.
Okay, all right. Good.
So everyone needs to have a profile. What you have in profile, that's a different story, right? You can have different permissions, you can have all permissions, you can whatever, but you need to have a profile in order to create a user. There is no user without a profile,
Okay.
because if I don't have a profile, the user that you are creating, what kind of access do he have? Everything or nothing, or what?
I get it. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, same thing. So basically, you need, at least you need a profile. It could be a very kind of a, almost like an empty profile. You can create, like, you can just take all the access. I mean, you can create a, like a new hire profile, and basically remove all the access. Okay, but that still needs to have a profile. Like within profile, you can just uncheck everything, uncheck this, uncheck that, but he can able to log into Salesforce, but he cannot able to see anything, because basically you don't see any apps, no objects, nothing, but he can able to log in into Salesforce. And then he will say, hey, I can log in, but I cannot see anything. Then he said, okay, what do you, which department do you work? Sales. Okay. Then you go back and either reassign him a new profile, or maybe add a permission set, because again, if there is nothing, then there's no point. So just to give you an example, that there could be an empty profile, but you still need a profile.
So, Khurram, every user have a default profile anyway, and we can
No,
go
you
and
allow
edit.
it. You select it. There's no default. I mean, you can choose something as a default profile, but it will ask you to choose a profile when you create the user. So remember when we were creating the users, like
Like
um,
you mentioned, we may have a profile first, then user.
so okay. See, what happens is there are, yeah, so there are a lot of standard profile already available. So if
Right.
you have not created your custom profile, you can choose anything from whatever is already available, and then later on you can create a profile and then go back and change the profile. That's fine. So
Right.
there are lots of profiles already available in Salesforce. So it will pick up one randomly, or you can go back and change it to whatever available. But let's say after that exercise, you go back and actually create the right one that you need. Now you can just go back to the user and change the profile to the one that you really need. That's it. Make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Now we don't see those apps. Okay, so now the trouble is over, right? Does it make sense? Now you don't see the pharma test and also the CarMax. Now both of them are gone. If you want them back very quickly so that it will become more clear, log out, log back in as admin again. Quickly make sure that you are logged in as. So again, I mean, sometime it just need to log in twice for some reason. So that's fine. It just happens with me. I don't know if it happens to you or not, but it just happens with me all the time. So I go back to as an admin profile, I go back to user, I'm sorry, permission sets. And then I can create a new permission. Let's take all of them back. Z property, test app. And then what I need to do? So this I created. What I create? A
Need
permission
user.
set, right? But I did not assign it to anybody. This is like you created a profile, but the profile is just sitting there. Now you need to go back and assign it to somebody, right? So same thing. You can create the stuff. I created the stuff, but right now it's just sitting. It's not gonna do anything because It's just I create a permission set, but not assigned to anybody. So let's go ahead and make assignment. So usually I think when you assign that, it also become locked, so you cannot delete it before if there's somebody's assigned to that. So we go through the process anyways. Go there, go to assign apps. You can see the apps. All right, so let's test it out. Okay, all of them are back. That's it. Everybody clear? Any question? Hey, Rabia, still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, is it good?
Yes.
Very good. Who else? Shamila?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's get back to our topic. So what we did so far, we did the first main item that we covered is like profiles and permission sets. Okay, so before moving forward, I'll take a step back, and we just discussed that we have, so these are different users, right? So besides user, there are a couple of other things. So there is something called groups, queues, and roles. Okay, roles in a way we already discussed, right? What is role? Role is like, you have director, you have manager, you have, the hierarchy. Okay, so you can set up the roles in Salesforce. How do you do that? It's very simple. You can go to, are we logged back in as an admin? Okay, so you can just go to roles. First of all, make sure you're logged in as an admin. And the role meaning you can create your company hierarchy. So let's say, for example, you work for a company ABC. They just finished the Salesforce implementation, and you are the admin. They said, okay, our all the testing is good. Now let's go ahead and create all of our roles, right? Like create profiles, roles. So role is like, okay, you have, CTO, CEO, all the directors. So you can go to roles. This hierarchy will come up, and you can read it out. How does it? So you have a, for example, they given a typical example of CEO, CFO, and VPs are on top view. Then you have directors and reps and everything like normally you have. And this is your overall all the hierarchy. And then you can create your own hierarchy as well, right? So I just rename the company name. Then you have a CEO. Then you have a CFO. Then under CFO you can create new users. CEO you have create under users. So let's say you want to edit a role. So, for example, instead of CEO, you want to call that CMO. You can change that. You want to delete that, you can delete it. Now let's say under CFO, you have a new role called Director Finance, and you can save it. So now you have a new role called Director Finance over here. And then you can start. So first thing you can assign, you can actually do all the hierarchy. So for example, under finance, you have like 10 different people. Under CEO, you have different people. Whatever hierarchy you have, you create all the hierarchy. And then you can start assigning the people. So you can just go in there, you can choose the user that you want. So it's here, you can select all users. So again, we have just two users. So for example, either KLE or test user, I can use that. And then that will become finance minister or finance director. Same thing, I can choose if I have many users, like a regular organization, let's say if I have 50 people. So whoever is a finance director, whoever, so one by one, you can assign all of the roles. So it's very straightforward, nothing tricky over here. All you're doing is you need to first assign all the different roles in your organization from top to bottom. And then let's say if you have 50 people, so each of them you can assign it. So it's kind of straightforward. And then you don't need to assign everybody. So for example, if you have a marketing team, you can create a marketing rep position, and then you can assign multiple people who belong to the same team as one, and then you can have that too. So they come under, a couple of like 3 or 4 hierarchies that you have. So that's role. So role is kind of very straightforward. If you have any question, you can let me know, but it's very straightforward. Then there is something called queues.
So is it the roles? Is it just to define the hierarchy? I mean, is there any other purpose for the roles?
Yeah. There is a very serious purpose. What happened is the way you define your hierarchy, that will also govern what you can see as a manager or a director or a CFO. So when you actually, I will show you that checkbox very soon, but for example, you can turn on, so there is a way you can turn on, so you create the hierarchy, you assign everybody, okay? Now, if you turn on the hierarchical view, what it means is that if you are a manager and if you have 10 people under you, you can able to see all the records of of your team because you're a manager, and that governs from the hierarchy that you have created. So that has a higher purpose. And again, if you have a CFO who is equivalent to the highest position, and if your hierarchy is on, I can show you from where you can turn on. So one step is to create one. So right now we just created. So if you just create and leave it, then that's it. No other effect. But there is another option that we will check, like maybe today as well, where you can check on something like, okay, check hierarchy. It's just a single check, but before you do the check, this thing has to be set up properly. So if you check box on something, for example, you check box on an object or a app that, okay, check hierarchy, in that way the manager will able to see the records for the team, the director can able to see the records of all the managers and the team, and then the CFO can able to see all the records for all the team. So that's called hierarchical view. So that also have higher impacts, but again, it needs two component. One, you have properly set up all the hierarchy, which we just did, and then based on each app or object, then you have a checkbox, which we will see in few minutes, that if you check box on that, then it will follow the hierarchical view, which means that if you are a manager, then you can able to see the records of all the users, all the team, and then your manager can see record of yours, and then all the, and CFO can see all the records for everybody.
So does this mean that this hierarchy, I mean, each entry in hierarchy, does it have a certain set of permissions associated with it?
So whatever their permissions are, they are not managed from here. So for example, they have profiles, they have permission sets, whatever they have. But as soon as you just turn on the hierarchical view, the manager can able to see the records of for that particular team that they have. And again, if you are a manager, think about it, then obviously you have access to that object. You also have access to the thing, because otherwise you cannot see it either, right? But if you have those things checked in and then you turn on hierarchy, then by the virtue of hierarchical view, you can able to see all these things.
So that's what my question was,
Mhm.
because so this means that this hierarchical view, these permissions will override the permissions or profiles assigned separately to each of them, right?
Correct. That's, yeah. So in that way, it's true that, for example, if your manager profile has, you cannot see your team, but from hierarchical view you turn on. So from the fact of the hierarchical view, because you're opening up the access, so through the hierarchical view you are opening up the access. That is correct.
Okay.
And I think that's a good question and a good point to show you a one pictorial view that might also help you. And again, all of that I will show you. But if you see here, so we haven't, the reason why I haven't showed you yet is there is something called OWD, or OWD, which is organization wide default, which we just going through in few minutes. But if you just think about it, this is one set of permissions. After that, you can open up the permission from role hierarchy. And after that, there's something called sharing rules. And then after that, you have manual sharing. So you can add like multiple layers of the rules. And then there is something fundamentally different. So right now we are mostly talking about the apps and everything that are managed by profiles, right? We haven't go into like records and fields, right? So those are different items that we haven't talked about the fields, if you have access or not. So the hierarchy view is more going into more detail into like your actual records and all that access. Make sense? So right now you're looking from a very top, from profile level, that okay, what do I have access? Can I write it or not write it? But we haven't decided that within that profile, within that app, within that object, what about the individual records? So they are not managed by the profile. They are managed by other settings that we will learn today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So profiles can manage on a, you can think about on a higher level, and then on the record level and things of that sort. There are different settings. That's why that's why I said in the beginning that today's session is going to be interesting, because it has a lot of settings. Then it sometimes overwhelms people. So obviously, whatever practice you have done so far, you might need to double it up for this week onwards, because now you are getting into the real meat of the Salesforce, because that's where, because creating profiles, creating validation rules, all that, that's kind of a straightforward if you really look at it. But now it becomes, because there are now, okay, you can do this by this, but you can do that by record. Now what is how you control record, how you control profile, how you control object, and then a lot of them needs a lot of practice, even to understand it. Because if you just go through the lecture, you may only get like 25% of it. So 75% will come from your practicing. So going back to just a quick understanding of queues, and so queue is something like, um, I can only tell you by example, and then in future you will use it. But there is something called queue, meaning, for example, you are using a service cloud. Okay, in service cloud you can create something called cases. Okay, so for example, if I log into the Amazon and I create a issue, I said, okay, my delivery is not in time, I create an issue, I fill up the form, I attach my receipts, and I click okay. So that, if the Salesforce is on the other side, that will create one case. Okay, now let's say they have a team of 50 people that work on a case. How would the case assign to individual people, right? So there are different ways for the assignment. For example, the the most basic is you can just assign first come, okay, first person, second person, third person, you can do that, right? But then you have different people with more expertise, and maybe they have a ticket, they're already working for 3 days, blah blah blah, you don't know who is absent. Or I mean, it just become like there are separate even softwares who do this part, right? But let's say within Salesforce, how you can do that. So one of the ways, and again, this is not the only way, but this is one of the way, that when the case comes up, that case goes into something called queue. So it's just sit in a queue waiting for someone to pick it up. And that queue you can define. So for example, again, we go back to our example. Let's say we have 50 people. There are 5 people in service representative group. Okay, those 5 people are those that actually work on cases. So what you will do is you come into queues, and so again you can go to setup, setting, queues, and okay, and then I can create a new queue. So for example, I can call that as support team, right? Okay, And what all I'm doing is, for example, in my support team, I want to use cases. Remember I told about something like cases. So we have a object called case. So I select the case object. For this particular case object, what I want is Mr. Ali and our test user should be in the queue. So what it means is whenever somebody create a queue and and queue on cases, then me and the test user are maybe notified with the email that ting, there is a new case in our case queue. And then whoever is available first can go ahead and and assign the case to themselves. So for example, a case comes up, I am free, I got an email, I go there, I open up that case and I change the case owner from queue to myself. Next case comes up, my test user is now available, and he goes there and then he can assign to himself, and then whoever is available is go ahead and assign. And if nobody's available, the case will be sitting in the queue, and you can able to see oh, there is a one case sitting. So when whoever is done first, so as a work process, so for example, if you are working in a team, so your work model will be you're working on a case, you're done, you go ahead and check the queue. So if there is a open case in the queue, you go ahead and assign yourself, and then you start working. So that is queues are used for. You can assign the queue to a specific object, and when there is a new record for that object created, like a new case comes up for that object, then whoever are in that queue, they will be notified, and one of them open up that case and then assign to themselves, and then start working, resolving whatever they need to do. But that is the purpose of the queue. Does it make sense? Any question for queue? Okay. If not, I think it's straightforward. Then there is another thing called group, right? So you can also create groups, and groups are exactly same as your like WhatsApp groups or whatever groups you want. Here they call it public groups, and you can just create whatever groups you want. Same thing like new. You can call the name, for example, sales managers group, right? For example, and you can select, it will give you all the list. You can select the members. Now where the groups will be used, so groups will be used as, for example, if you want to assign something directly, or if you want to send an email. So for example, every time something comes up, so there's a difference between queues and groups. So groups is mostly, I mean, they're kind of similar thing. I mean, both of them combine people together, but queues are more for like case, and there's another object called case and something similar that is used for. But I mean, group is you can use anywhere. Even you can use group to assign permission sets, or other, not permission set, but other sets, like like record number of records, like let's say you want to share like 10 records to group of people, like all of the sales team. So you can just assign it to the group, and then from that group they can able to see that. Actually, let me create one. I don't know why I deleted that. But basically it's the same as any other groups that you have. Okay. Any question for the group or queue or roles?
So is it something like we create a group and assign one profile to a whole group, something like that, or if I'm not missing something?
No, remember what did I say? Profile is needed for every user. So
No, what I mean, like if I need to apply one profile to all group, can I make a group and apply?
can you give me so now you know where you need to go and change the
Like,
profile, right? How would you do that? So basically the way you can change the profile is only you have to go to the user and then change the profile. So there is no location that you can go there and change the profile, rather going like there is only one way you can access users and a profile together. is only by going to users and change the profile. Like you can go to the user and then change the profile. So there is no other way you can get to this point in a combination.
Like for whole marketing group, like 10 people, I like to assign one profile.
Yes, you can assign that, but you can create one profile, but you
Right.
still have to individually go to each person and assign their profile.
Usually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
No,
mean,
not like group and assign all of them at once.
no,
Not possible.
because the profile is so critical, and then basically it's so dependent on each user that they don't give you any option for just to combine people and give them one
All
profile.
right. Want to make sure.
I mean, it's the same thing, but
Yeah.
the way you actually do that is you have to go individual. I mean, it's the same thing. What you're asking is the right question, that can I assign the same profile to multiple users? Yes, but the way you actually assign them is going one by one.
So I cannot use group. That's my
You cannot use group
point.
for that.
Okay.
Group is
Okay.
mostly used for, let's say you want to assign records, right? Number of records. Let's say 10 records you want to assign from marketing group to sales group. That's where you use the group.
Okay.
Or you want to send an email to a group of people whenever a new something new mail comes up or something like that. Not a queue, but let's say you also, so there are, so think about the example that I gave, that's fine if you create a queue and then reps are there, but I also want that anytime there's a new case comes up, there should be an email go to the two directors, for example, right? So what I can do, I can create a group called directors. I add both of the directors, and then I create something called, the function you haven't gone through it yet, but I create a function which will send an email to the group, and then group has both the directors saying that new case is open, and then the case details can also comes up. So you can use group over there as well.
Okay. Okay. Not for the profile purpose. That's my
Not for
main
the
thing.
profile.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. And one more question regarding queue. Is there any view, any like admin view or managerial view where I can see how many cases are open, not
Yeah.
assigned, which are
Yes.
working, who's working.
Absolutely. So even just think about cases as whatever we have. So for example, cases is nothing different than for example this object, right? So you can just think for a second that, oh, basically let me go back to service. Maybe there are some default cases. Let's see. So cases, and if you go to cases, view all, and it will give you the list of all the cases, and then how they come up, what fields are there, that all you can customize it. You can even customize it for every user independently, but you can customize it. You can see all the open cases, closed cases. You can see assigned to me, so open cases, closed cases, my cases, assigned to me, support team, and you can create more views like that. I mean, these are few views, but you can even create your own views over here. So you can do a lot of things over here.
Okay.
Yeah, so that part is very customized. And even, but obviously, as I said, admin has to do that for users. So let's say as a user you need to do something, you always need to go back to the admin, and then he can do it for you. All right, so let's move past all these things. We just go through that. What was the next one is okay, let's, so permission sets we just finished. Okay, field level security. Okay, so this one is a slightly tricky, because there are two locations where you can control this, and that's why it becomes a little tricky, because people will get confused. But what happens is both of them, it will check both of the locations. So let me go through one by one and show you, and then we can talk about what is the difference. So one location is from profiles. Okay, so let's go to profiles. And again, everybody understood what is field level security. There are fields, and let's say you created 5 fields, 10 fields. So there are some fields that you want to show, hide, make a read only. So you want to do some conditions to that, right? So let's go to profiles. And again, you can access profiles from here also. Go to profiles directly. Like for example, we created a test profile called test user profile. You can access from here. You can go to users and access it. There are multiple ways. So once you get it familiar with the Salesforce, there are more than one ways to get to the point. So here, for example, I go to straight here. You can see something called field level security, right? And we were working on our object, let's say Ali property info. Okay, click view. So again, we are talking about this particular profile. So these things are managed by profile. So each profile, you have to set it up. So as I said, more profiles, more trouble, right? That's why they keep the number of profiles limited and then use other things to provide the additional access. Okay, so here these are the fields. I think everybody should be very, very familiar with what field is. So for example, we have a field called type, subtype, right? So what I want is for type and subtype, for this profile, sorry. What I wanted to do is click edit, but I click, okay, view, and then I wanted to edit. And then what I want, so there are two options. And this is called field level security, as the name suggests, field level security. What do you want? I want this type is, what do you want? You want read access, you want to read it, and you also want to add it, or you only want your users to read it but not add it. So let's say I don't want them to edit it, right? Same thing, subtype, I want them to read it, but they cannot able to edit it, right? That's it. So this profile will no longer able to edit the fields. Make sense? And we can test it out as well. But does it make sense so far what I'm saying, what we did? So we go to profile, we go to field level security, we go to a particular object, and the object name is Ali property. All the fields are here. We selected two fields and say, okay, these two fields, it used to have added access, but now no more added access for this profile. And this profile is assigned to one of the users. Is that clear to everybody? Is it any question? All right. And okay, so here do you see a difference that it used to be property type, there should be edit button, but I cannot edit anymore. I can see the fields, but I cannot edit it, like this edit button. So this edit button also I can remove, or I can add the edit button over here. But this is what it means, that you can allow them to view it, but they are not allowed to edit these two fields. Okay, these two fields we have access, they have access to even edit like this. But for example, we just take away the access to property type and subtype, and now they don't even have edit button, but they can view it. If you want them not to even view it, then you can remove the read only also, then they cannot even able to view it. Is that clear? Okay, I'm hoping it's clear. What is the other location for field level security? Let's log in back as a admin. And the other location for is the page layout. Okay, so let's go to the page layout. And to go to the page layout, you have to first go to the object. So the object was the property info and page layout, right? In the page layout, right now there's one page layout. We go into the page layout. And if you go in front of the field, so remember this field property type and property type. So they already are blocked because of that. But here also there is an option. So if you click on this properties button, here also it will tell you read only or required. Now, if you do something over here, so for example, here you said read only, over there you do something else, right? So which setting will take into effect? So whichever is more restricted, that will take effect. So for example, from here you said, okay, so because if you click on read only, that means that you can able to read it, right? So which is already the case, but here it is required, then you have to fill that field, so you can change that. And then the other location where we had view and also edit. So in terms of and I have a small chart over here. So for example, if we have a condition like this, so from FLS, remember the FLS, there are two options, visible or read only. So we have visible, and then from page layout we said not visible, right? So what will happen with that field?
So it won't be visible because
Not
it's
visible. What about read only and editable?
read only.
Read only. So you are correct. So whatever is the most restrictive condition, because both of them kind of similar thing, right? One is saying that visible, not visible, because read, although it doesn't say the same thing, like here it says read, over there it says view, but both of them actually the same thing, right? And the other one is a different option. One is says required, one is says editable. So if you have read only and editable, then it will just become read only, because over here we have a read only option. So if you click on read only, and over there you check editable, so they are conflicting, right? Here you are saying that it is read only, over the other FLS you are saying editable, then it's like a conflicting. So what will happen? So whatever is most restricted, like in this case read only and editable, read only is more restricted, that you cannot edit, so this will affect. And if it is visible and not visible, then not visible it will affect. So what it means is basically whatever is the most restrictive condition, that will be the result. Is that clear to everybody? I know it's not easy, I mean it, because you haven't tested it out. So what you really need to do is you need to first go to FLS, make it one setting, and then go back, log in as another as a user. So that's why if you have two laptops, it just make it a little bit easier. So if you have two laptops, in one laptop you can log in as an admin, in another laptop you can log in as a user. As an admin, check what two conditions, okay, read only and not visible, and then other laptop, check what is the difference, can you edit, can you not edit. In one you can remove it, like view, remove the view and go back and see if you can see it. Other one, so you can just test it out, and once you do it like 10 minutes, you should be it will be very easy for you to understand. But again, it's easy to understand, I mean it's easy to understand once you actually practice, but just by looking at it, it might look a little bit confusing. And again, as I said, this is field level security. What it means is you can control the field. Do you want to show them, not show them, editable, not editable, required, not required. That's what it is. Okay. Very good. I think we're progressing very well. I think we have another 7 minutes. So I don't know if I can do everything that I planned, but at least I think I can hit on one more item, and then we'll see if we have a few minutes left. Okay, so page layout. So while we are already on page layouts, so let's talk about page layout. Okay, we just discussed that we have different profiles, right? So we go back to our Excel cheat sheet. So here we discuss about different profiles, right? Now with different profiles, you can even have a separate page. So page layout, it becomes sales, like, or you can call it sales page layout. So you can even create different page layouts and show the fields that is more usable for that particular set of users. And then another, you can use another page called marketing page layout, and you can set the fields, show the fields, different settings based on whatever they want. The fields are same. We are not adding or I mean we can remove the fields, but overall, let's say we have 10 fields, we are playing with those 10 fields. But let's say in sales page layout, you just want to show the 5 fields. Okay, just show the 5 fields, hide the rest of the fields. In marketing, show whatever related to marketing, maybe make required some fields, not required, and they are assigned to different profiles. So you can do all of them. So now you are actually taking care of different things, like although they both have access, but they can see something differently, like the page view is different. So what it means is if you log in as a sales profile, and if you go to let's say case, case page layout, so your case page layout, like the sequence and number of fields, maybe look different. If you log in as marketing profile, your page look different. So how do you control the settings? You have to go to the page layout. So for example, if I go into any object, and there's a called page layout. So here you can actually able to create new page layouts, right? So you can click new, and you can choose any existing page layout, and you can say, okay, this is my test new page layout, right? It's same as cloning, right? So you clone, you have a page which has basic settings similar to the previous page. Now you said, okay, on this page, I don't want these two fields, right? So I can remove these two fields. I said price, it doesn't look good over here. I can show the price over here. I want to remove, so you can do everything. So so this page consists of different sections, right? So the top section is most like a selection. So you have fields. So all the fields are here. If you want to add a new field, you can have whatever section where you need to add the fields. So you can pick and drop the new fields over here. So here I need to add this field, and I think we have all the fields. And then I want to change the setting. I want everything to come up on one side. I can do that. So I can do whatever I want in terms of shape. I can change the buttons, for example, submit for approval. If you have approval process, you can add that over here. And again, a lot of these buttons does not make sense to you right now, but eventually it will. And same thing with, like, for example, some section you don't need it. So for example, like related list is important, but mobile cards, or for example, this section, you don't need it. um, you can change the view. You can even remove it. So you can do some basic high level settings. Again, it's not a fully customizable. Like for example, if you say I just want a entirely different look and feel, so that you cannot do. But in terms of changing, for example, this section, you can move up this section, move down, you can add few new sections, you can change the location, you can change the properties of the fields from the properties button. You can remove some of the fields. So different page, different group, you can assign to different profiles, different page layouts, so they have different views. But if you really want like a totally different, like a redesign view, you can also do that, but then you need to do something called visual force pages. So that's more like a little bit development is involved. So you can do that, but that's where you need some more development. So admin part is not cover the development portion of it, but just for your understanding, you can do that, but not through this basic page layout. So you can create multiple page layouts here. So now we have two page layouts, then we create another one. Now you remember, if I go back to my fields, or if I want to, let's go back to fields. Okay, so when we used to create fields, remember now it is asking you the the field level security. Remember this, because every time we were keep skipping it, right? But now you understand what it is, so you can choose which profile needs what. So we were just checking everything and moving on. But now you know what is field level. So while you are creating the new fields, you can assign it to the proper profiles. And same thing, if you go here, it will give you option if you need this field on which page. So if you need it on both pages, you can check both. If you just need this field on this page, you can add. So now you will know that what we were skipping back then, these 2 points, that where we have called, and then I think more previous was, yeah. So here you can assign it, which FLS setting you want. And this one is more which page layout do you want. So this is, now we created a test page. So let's say we want on both pages, we can do that. If you want on one page, we can do that. So it's totally up to you, and you can make some changes. Again, it's not a super change. It's more like you can show some fields, hide some fields, change some required field, view only in different pages, and you can assign different pages. Just for your example, let's say one page you can assign it to sales, one page you can assign it to marketing, and that's it. And then you can have different views for people, and you can have some basic property change. But again, it's not like over, like a UI is not change, UI is similar, but you can change that and manage the fields. Is it clear to everybody? Anybody has a question? Okay, so basically we cover all the way up to page layout. We're pretty close, but we still miss like a one big topic today, which is OWD. Role hierarchy, actually we already learned about it, but sharing rules and manual sharing. So these two topics are related to this one. So we can start with OWD in our next session, and then we'll progress into some more cool stuff. But again, I hope now you understand that, you know, you know, that's some of the basic access things, because once we finish that, we probably cover the security model. So this is the high level security model, that how do you control fields, objects, everything, and then how you allow them, how you hide them. So yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Any questions before we finish our session today?